Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? Happy Monday. For those of you in the US, happy Monday after a long weekend. And I hope everybody had a fantastic start to their week. And that, as always, it's going to be full of lots of reading and relaxation. And hopefully the work days will go by quickly for you. I am here to do the first part of my November book calls. I can't believe how fast November is going by, and I'm a little bit late to get this book haul out to you, but I apologize, but it's a good one. It's an interesting one. And these are all books that have been sent to me by the publishers, and they're a very eclectic mix. I'm super excited to tell you about them because there's a bunch of stuff in here that you normally wouldn't see on my channel, and that makes me really excited. So, before we get started, as always, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, because I have a feeling a lot of these will wind up on your TBRs, or maybe interest you, and you want to check them out at the library or get your library to purchase them so that you can take a look. So let's get started. The first book that I'm going to tell you about was actually sent to me by the author, and that is The Philistine by Leila Marshy. Leila reached out to me. She is an author out of Montreal, Canada. And this is the story of Nadia, I believe. You know how I am with names. Nadia is a young woman who is in Cairo, and she has a passionate love affair with an Egyptian woman, which keeps her in the city of Cairo longer than expected. And while she's there, she starts to delve into her history and rebuild her relationship with her father. And then from what the book says on the back is it sort of hints and gives you indications of what happens and what leads up to the 2011 Egyptian revolution. Sorry, sometimes I need to check my own years. I think this cover is fantastic. I think the idea sounds really interesting. So I was really happy when Leila reached out to me and offered me a copy of her book. So just take a quick gander again. That cover is something. So this is The Philistine by Leila Marshy. And thank you very much, Leila, for sending me a copy of your book. Okay, so the next sort of stack of books that I'm going to go through were all sent to me by the lovely people over at Coach House. Now, Coach House is a small independent press, and they are fantastic. And they offered to send me just a stack full of poetry. And I have been trying to get myself to read more poetry. And it's a very eclectic mix. So there's lots of stuff for me to dive into. And it's also sort of experimental literature. And it's kind of fun and interesting. And it's going to keep me on my toes. And some of these book covers, you guys, are just fantastic. So we are going to start by discussing Jason Stefanik, I'm sorry, Jason, Stefanik. Night Became Years. Now look at that cover. It's so creepy. And this book of poetry is blurbed by John Burnside, which I think that's a huge blurb right there. And the way that the book says it on the back, it says, Jason Stefanik's loafers his way through the heart of the city as he explores his own mixed heritage through the lexicon of Elizabethan canting language. And I started to read a few of these, and they almost sort of seem, some of them seem very like sonnet-like in nature, and they've got a nice rhythm to them, and they're all sorts of different topics. So I'm super excited for this. I think that cover is just freaking creepy as heck. And so that is the poetry collection Night Became Years by Jason Stefanik. And there you go. And that's probably Stefanik. That's probably Stefanik. So there you go. You know how I am with names, guys. I'm sorry. The next one I just love. I would do my whole house on this wallpaper. And this is Obits by Tess, Liem. And this is also a book of poetry where the author is speaking for all those people that don't have obituaries written for them. And the way the back sort of talks about them is those people who have died who represent statistics. And she considers people who have died in mass deaths, genocide. And I really like the line on the back. It says, asking, what does it mean to be an I mourning a you when you both have been othered? I think that's a phenomenal statement and very interesting. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. And I love everything about this print and about this cover. So that's Obits by Tess, Liem. Thank you very much. Again, Okay, so the next one I'm gonna hold up here, and because I know I'm gonna butcher this word, which I was practicing before I started my camera. This is Midday at the Super-Kamiokande by Matthew Tierney, and that again is probably said wrong. And this book is one of those ones where I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. It says it's part existential cry, part close encounter of the other kind. Like the neutrino observatory of its title, it seeks glimpses of the obscure to carve out meaning. Now, I started flipping through this one. This was the very first one that I actually looked at when it came in the mail. And I was really absorbed. And the thing about the poetry in this book is that it definitely made me think about different things and about different ways of approaching stuff. And there's no one, it's hard. I don't want to read you guys an entire poem to get into it. But I was really sort of in awe of how this author was using sort of these otherworldly ideas to get me to think about the world in which I live. I hope that makes sense. So this is Midday at the Super-Kamiokande by Matthew Tierney. Matthew, I'm sorry, I said probably the last word in the title of your book wrong. But I think that is also a very cool cover, you guys. Very cool. So, okay. The last book of poetry is Sky Writings by Nasser Hussain. And the premise of this book is this is all poetry that is based and composed entirely of the 3-letter airport codes that exist in the world. Okay. So as you can imagine, it's a take on travel, the world, flight, and it's got some really interesting typographical discussions and some really cool maps. I think that this is going to be one of those books that you were going to read like 4 and 5 times, those kind of books of poetry, as you sort of just pick apart and pieces of what the author is trying to say. And again, that is another very awesome cover. Coach House Books rocked their poetry covers. So again, this is Sky Writings by Nasser Hussain. Oh, so good. So good. Now, second to last book they sent me, I'm not sure how to describe. And this is Nights on Prose Mountain, the fiction of bpNichol. And this is actually the complete works of bpNichol. And I don't know much about him other than he was a very experimental writer. And as you can see, if you look through here, some of this stuff is definitely, it's like almost like visual art poetry. It's fragmented. It can be like diaries. And I'm interested in anything where we're collecting the works of an experimental writer to see how they've changed and grown as a writer and a thinker. And it says on the back here, I think he wrote from 1968 to 1983. And I believe this is pretty much a definitive collection. So if you're into experimental literature, if you're into people doing new and different, new, I mean, he did write this some time ago, but different stuff with words and sentences and structure. I think Nights on Prose Mountain by bpNichol, edited by Derek Bailu, out by Coach House Books, is something that you may want to pick up and just get for those people in your life that really like something a little bit different. And the cover is really cool. I have to tell you, I find the back of the cover a little bit distracting because the print and the font and everything is very hard to read. So that was a little bit hard for me to get into, but I flipped through this one a couple of times. I think it's going to be a fun book to dive in and out of. So there you go. Nights on Prose Mountain by bpNichol. Now, last but not least, the nice people at Coach House sent me this tiny little book, and that's The Little Snake by A.L. Kennedy. Now, A.L. Kennedy won the Costa Book of the Year Award for her book. Let me see. I want to say it was called Midday. And she is a British writer. And this is the story of Mary and her best friend, Lamo, who is a shining golden snake. And they become best friends. And Lamo is watching Mary's life change through war, through movement. And I like the way it says at the end here, it says, when Lamo's destiny will break them apart, and he wonders whether having a friend can possibly be worth the pain of knowing that you will lose them. This cover is, again, fantastic. And I like that idea. I like that premise. I like the idea sort of the Garden of Good and Evil, the Garden of Eden, with the snake and Mary being sort of our Eve-like protagonist. Yeah, I've almost picked this one up a couple of times, but it's on a different shelf, and I'm like, oh, I need to go grab that. So that's The Little Snake by A.L. Kennedy. And there you go. So Coach House Books, thank you so much for that whole entire stack. I'm super excited as they tumble beside me about all of them. So fixing that for you guys. Now I have 5 more books that were sent me for me by the publisher. All of them I'm super excited about. The first one was sent to me by New York Review of Books, who you know I absolutely love. And this is Nothing But the Night by John Williams. Now you guys know I'm a huge John Williams fan. I've read Stoner, Butcher's Crossing, Augustus, which are his 3 big novels. This is actually his first novel, which is being reprinted by New York Review of Books. And the cover is freaking creepy. So this is the story of, I want to say Arthur. Yes, Arthur, he's at a point. He's at a point in his life, an emotional rope, I think is the way the back of the book describes it. And he's in a big hotel in a big city. And his dad, who he's estranged for, reaches out to have a meeting. And they wind up going out together. And the way the back says, they've been estranged for years. And so he goes out and he's reeling from this encounter from a night of drinking and dancing and the final reckoning with the traumatizing past that readers will not soon forget. Now, I don't know that John Williams can do any wrong. And what fascinates me about this book is that if he were here today, he probably would not want us reading this because this was not his favorite novel. However, it is the first in who I think is one of the underrated American authors. There's also a little discussion or interview with his wife in this book. I think that what I've already read and is very interesting, gives you a very interesting perspective on John Williams. This comes out in February of 2019. Please pick it up. I pick up all John Williams. Pick this one up. Read it first because it was his first. Then you read Stoner, read Butcher's Crossing, read Augustus, which won the National Book Circle Award, I think. And there you go. And then you can have a complete immersive experience in Mr. Williams. So this is Nothing But the Night by John Williams. And I know that cover is going to freak a couple people out because it's a pretty creepy cover. The people over at FSG were so nice to send me Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. Now, you guys know if you watched my last video that I just read The Title Zone by Sarah Moss and adored it. And this is her new novel that's actually, this is the US cover. It is coming out in the US and it's coming out on January 8th. I don't know much about it and I don't need to know much about it. It says on the back that it's a feminist fable, mythic and timely, asking how far we came from the primitive minds of our ancestors. And it has a blurb from Jessie Burton on the back and Maggie O'Farrell. And I know a lot of people, including our friend Simon, who have read this book and really, really loved it. So that's Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. I'm not going to know a whole lot about it. All I know is the title zone was freaking brilliant. And so I cannot wait to get into this. Again, this will be out from FSG in January 8th. And go get it. And thank you very much for sending me this copy. Okie dokie. The next book was sent to me by FSG again in Sarah Crichton Books, and this is Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. This book comes out in, when does this book come out? I know this comes out, April 16th, so it's a bit out there. But put this one on your TBR, guys, because I have a feeling you're going to really want to read this one. This is the story of the community of Miracle Creek, where we have a couple, I want to get their names right. Hold on one second. Pak and Young Yu, who in their backyard have one of those hyperbolic oxygen tanks, chambers that people go into. And a number of different people in the community use it. There's this discussion of a mother and her autistic son. There is a doctor that goes in trying to cure his infertility and save his marriage. And then something happens. it explodes and someone dies, and that there is a person they suspect of blowing up this oxygen tank. And it becomes a courtroom drama regarding that as we learn about the community. One, you guys, again, this cover. Two, I think that sounds so interesting and fantastic. Oxygen chambers have always sort of like weirdly creeped me out. I'm fascinated by them. And you may have seen this, I think it's called Miracle. The object itself is called the Miracle Submarine or something like that. I think the book used to be called Miracle Submarine and now it's called Miracle Creek. So you may have heard about it. But this is, again, by Angie Kim. It's out in April. Put it on your TBR. Go on Goodreads. Add it on. Pre-order it from your local bookstore. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those ones over the spring and summer you're going to want to fly through. Okay. Okay, 2 more books. The next one is The Winter Sister by Megan Collins. This is going to get for you guys who love a good mystery, murder mystery. This is the story of Sylvia, who 16 years ago, her sister Persephone went out to meet her boyfriend and never came back. Sylvia, in present time, is returned to town because her mother is very sick and she is there to take care of her. And in the hospital where her mother is being taken care of is her sister's ex-boyfriend, who is now a nurse there, who Sylvia has always suspected is the person who killed her sister. Do you need more? Do you need more? I don't think you need any more. That's The Winter Sister by Megan Collins. I want to thank Touchstone Books for sending me this copy. This will be out in February of 2019. Do I have a more specific date? February 5th. I think this for you guys, you mystery readers, this book is right up your alley. Doesn't that sound so good? Yeah, I'll be reading this sooner rather than later. Okay, last but not least is probably one of my favorite covers, and that is The Night Tiger by Yangsze Choo. This is was sent to me by Flatiron Books, so thank you so much, Flatiron. And this is out again also in February. I'm trying to see if I have a better date than just straight February. I don't. February 2019. I am going to read the inside of this one to you because as I was trying to figure out how to summarize it, I wasn't doing a good job. Quick-witted, ambitious Ji Lin is stuck as an apprentice dressmaker, moonlighting as a dance hall girl to help pay off her mother's mahjong debts. But when one of her dance partners accidentally leaves behind a gruesome souvenir, Ji Lin, God, I'm stumbling over that name. Ji Lin may finally get the adventure she has been longing for. 11-year-old houseboy Ren is also on a mission, racing to fulfill his former master's dying wish. That Ren find the man's finger lost years ago in an accident and bury it with his body. Ren has 49 days to do so, or his master's soul will wander the earth forever. As the days tick relentlessly by, a series of unexplained death racks the district, along with the whispers of men who turn into tigers. Ji Lin's and Ren's increasingly dangerous paths crisscross through lush plantations, hospital storage rooms, and ghostly dreamscapes. And it says on the back that this is set in 1930s colonial Malaysia and is for fans of Isabel Allende and Min Jin Lee. All of that says yes. All of that says absolutely yes. So again, this is The Night Tiger by Yangsze Choo. This is out from Flatiron Books in February. So this is quite a stack. I hope you guys added a ton of these to your TBR, and I hope that you guys pre-order some of them from your local bookstores or get your library to pre-order them for their inventories as well. As always, if you are a return subscriber, thank you so much. You know how much I appreciate you. If you're new to my channel, I hope some of these books make it on your TBR and that you choose to subscribe and stay around. As always, until next time, happy reading, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!